Morning viewers, you're welcome to yet another exciting episode of My Opinion on Clevenard TV, broadcasting live from Spain. As usual, I remain your host, Franca Idemudia. In the house this morning, I have a perfect gentleman, a doctor, in the person of Dr. Sina Okanlomo. Dr. Sina, you're welcome to My Opinion this morning.
Thank you so much, Franca, for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing this morning on, okay, before I start, Dr. Shinon is actually the president's Yoruba One Voice worldwide, if I'm not mistaken.
Not at all. That's correct. Spot on.
Is that right? And then this morning we'll be discussing or talking on the death of democracy in Nigeria. Dr. Shinon, before we start, I would like you to please introduce yourself to the audience. Let's get to know you.
Thank you. My name is Sina Okanlomo. I hail from Abeokuta in southwest part of Nigeria. I don't talk about Ogun State because I don't believe in the way the land has been fractionated into different states, because I believe we are a single people and we're supposed to remain a single individual. I'm a gynecologist by profession, and I was a senior lecturer in medical school of Southern Africa for many years. I've trained generation of doctors, and all of them and different kind of specialty right now. But my forte is the liberation of our land, because I believe as long as we remain within the geographical entity called Nigeria, we are not free people. Yoruba people are nation. Nigeria is a union. According to our late sage, our progenitor, Papa, what he said is that Nigeria is a mere geographical expression. It's not a nation. And that's also the philosophy which I share. Thank you so much, Franca.
You just mentioned something about Nigeria not being a nation. Can you elaborate on that? I don't really get you there. How do you mean when Nigeria is not a nation?
Nigeria is a union. And if you look at what even happened in 1960, before 1960, our forefathers, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and of course, our late Papa from southern Nigeria, and of course, Alhaji Sardauna from Sokoto. I mean, those are the leading figure when it comes to the independence. Of course, there are so many other people. Now, the point is that before the British came, if you remember, Nigeria is a British project. We are never a single people. They are the one who merge us together. So they merge us together based on the agreement, based on the meeting which they had for the independence. And at that stage, if we are the same people, why would we have to negotiate the way we are going to live together? It was negotiated that we are going to have true federalism, and we never had that from that moment, even from the time of independence. The structure that was put in place, I mean, the structure is very similar to the structure of UK. Every region will have their own parliament, they have their constitution, they have their representatives. So because it is a pluralistic society, it's a non-homogeneous society. Because of that homogeneity, that is why the independence was negotiated, and the basis of 1963 constitution, which I thought is a beautiful constitution. In other words, Nigeria is a union, Yoruba is a nation, and when you talk about, say, for argument's sake, we say Ijebu is a tribe. So Nigeria is not a nation, Yoruba is a nation. Thank you.
So having a Yoruba nation in a country like Nigeria, I don't really get that. So when you say again that Yoruba is a nation, but Nigeria is not, I don't know. Can you differentiate these two? I really like to be clear there.
Yeah, for you to say it's a nation, you must have many things in common. Nigeria doesn't have a core value system like American have, like the British have. Yes, we have a common value system. Our core value system is based on the principle of Omoluabi. Omoluabi principle does not apply to somebody who's an Igbo or to a Fulani man or somebody from Middle Belt. So we have a core value system. We have a common language. We have a common heritage. We have a common culture. So that makes us a nation. And of course, we have a large number of people. 50 million, about 60 million Yoruba are in West African region of Africa. And of course, another 70 million in Brazil. When you have about 130 million people, probably one of the largest ethnic groups all over the world. Those group of people deserve to have their own country because they are a nation with a peculiar identity. So nobody can deny that. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for the explanations, Doctor. And then we'll go back to the topic of discourse for today, which is the death of democracy in Nigeria. Now, 29 years ago, Lord, thereabout on this same day, we have MK Abiola emerging as the president of this nation, of which at the end of the day, that election was actually annulled. Today marks it 29 years of that incident. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much. About your introduction of what happened during June 12. On June 12, 1993, considering the fact that Nigeria is a pluralistic society and non-homogeneous for that matter, everybody from every walk of life, they vote in the most fairest and free election in Nigeria. And Bashorun Chief MK Abiola won the election. But unfortunately, the two generals from the Niger State, they have their own agenda. The agenda of the first general, Babangida, was to annul the election, and the second general under his watch, Abiola, was killed in a reprisal attack, in my own view, after the death of Sani Abacha. And when you look at that election, you can realize that we have not even learned anything from that particular election result. Because reason being that those who are responsible, those who have dominated Nigeria, those who destroyed the structure of Nigeria, which was intact until Gowon took over, to destroy the structure we had in place. Aguni Rose never destroyed the structure. He took over the power. The structure was destroyed by General Gowon with Decree 14. Is the Decree 14 that fragmented Nigeria into about 12 states. The best constitution we had then was 1960-1963 constitution. If you look at that constitution, yes, that constitution has some flaws. The flaws of that constitution is that there's still too much power within the center. And that is the purpose, the reason why Major General Ojukwu and his cohort and the people of his generation, and they were invited to Aburi in Ghana for Aburi Accord. Unfortunately, that Aburi Accord was never implemented. The other thing is that, you see, those who are responsible for for this ignoble annulment of that election, they have never been held accountable. And that is the reason why they become emboldened. And they continue with their agenda of domination of Nigeria and internal colonization. Until all those issues are addressed, Babangida still have to be held accountable. And of course, the blood of MK Abiola is in the hand of Abdul Salam, because MK Abiola died under his watch. Thank you.
The structure being destroyed and all that. Could you please explain about the structure that was being displayed? The audience would really want to know by what you mean by structures being destroyed.
The structure we had in place before 1960 independence, which was negotiated by all our forefathers from the eastern part of Nigeria, from the west and the north, was Nigeria to be 3 regions. And of course, we remember what happened in 1963. Midwestern part of Nigeria was also granted a region of their own. That's the structure we have. And on the basis of that structure that was negotiated, you could realize that people who are homogeneous in a way, they were in a particular region. And that's why we continue to have problems. And our forefathers actually recognized that look, people who are homogeneous, they have the same mentality, the same background, almost similar language, they're supposed to be together. Now, that is the reason why that is what was negotiated. But you remember, fragmentation of Nigeria was not based on negotiation. It was by the military junta, who was not as intelligent as our forefathers. So they based it on whatever they think is going to be in their own best interest, not in the interest of every Nigerian, because nobody was consulted at that stage. It's not a wide consultation.
Is that right, sir? Coming back to our discussion, okay, we've talked about the annulment of June 12th and all that. And if you can recall, I think the government of President Buhari actually declared every June 12th as a democracy day in Nigeria. Okay? Now, does that suffice for the presumed loss of the mandates?
Not at all in any way, because to look at the reason behind that, the rationale behind that announcement, it was too little, too late. Yes, we could have applauded General Buhari for such a gesture in a way, but we cannot, because the announcement, the declaration was made shortly, few years or very few months before the second term election of General Buhari. So what that means is that that was used as a ploy to appease the people of Southwest Nigeria, particularly the Yoruba, and of course, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, who has been at the forefront of his election. I think that's the reason why that was so done. And another bad aspect of that declaration was that, which I thought it was a blow to our people, our Yoruba people, was that those who are responsible for the annulment of the election, those who are actually also responsible to make sure that that mandate did not stand, they were also honored in the same setting. And those who tortured MK Abiola was also honored. And who's that person? Was General Sani Abacha. How can you honor somebody who tortured somebody else in the same setting? It makes no sense. It's an insult. It's a blow to people of Yoruba extraction. For me, it's not acceptable. It's disrespectful.
How did this annulment, how did it affect positively or negatively the Yoruba people?
Yoruba people has been negatively affected by the annulment. In fact, Nigeria in general. If you remember at that time, many of our leaders were killed. That Abiola was killed, and many other of the activists, many of them were on exile because they couldn't stay in Nigeria anymore. It was a very, very difficult period for our people. Now, what had happened is that the people who actually benefited from that annulment, Obasanjo and Jonathan, they didn't even recognize the effort of Chief MK Abiola, because if it wasn't for annulment, Obasanjo would have never dreamed of becoming Nigeria president at any time. Very, very unlikely Jonathan will also be a president. I'm surprised they did not even recognize the effort of Chief MK Abiola, even though they benefited a mess from that. Now, the other thing is that in terms of the benefit, there's nothing. In fact, our people didn't learn any lesson from that. Our Yoruba people, we have not really organized as the way we're supposed to have organized ourselves. Because once something happened to you, you need to put a deterrent in place. No deterrent has been in place. Everybody is just going about its business as if nothing has happened. Now, we apply what is called lapel indifference to whatever has happened. So that is why when you look at what is actually happening right now, that's why the North, because they haven't learned any lesson. Look at the build-up to this 2023 election. There's a gentleman arrangement that the president is supposed to be zoned to the south. What I was expected is that based on what the Igbos, the Niger Delta, the contribution they've made to PDP, somebody of Igbo extraction of Niger Delta supposed to come out as the president of PDP, and probably somebody from the southwest supposed to come as a president. So they should be the one be contesting, so that our people will vote for the best among the southerners. But that's not happening right now. In fact, if not for the fact that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a dogged fighter, they've almost denied him of the ticket of APC. So we haven't learned any lesson. But if we haven't at this stage, then I don't know when we are going to learn that lesson. But what is likely to happen if we are not careful? This entity we call Nigeria, what is going to happen? There will be a total disintegration, because there's going to be anarchy, because people are tired of being pushed around. And when you are pushed to the wall, when common people react, then it's not going to help anybody in the entity called Nigeria.
Much for that. You are one of the proponents of the development of the Yoruba nation, if not one of the top people leading this group. Okay? Now, what is the state of your agitation?
Well, our agitation is still in full swing, because you remember when you talk about agitation, liberation of a nation within another country, it's never that easy. Even if you are going to liberate a village, it takes a lot of effort. to convince everybody to be on your side. It's not going to be that simple. But what I find not acceptable is for people to hold Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu for failure of our liberation movement to thrive as much as we have expected, because you can't hold one individual liable for if there's any failure at all. You have to hold all the councillor, all the governor, even the vice president of Nigeria is with is the vice president of Nigeria under Muhammad Buhari. I don't know why people don't talk about him to hold him responsible, but they hold Asiwaju responsible for the failure of liberation movement to galvanize so much support that everybody expected. And of course, if for argument's sake, I come to Nigeria today, I start shouting Oduduwa Republic, and I'm arrested and I'll be killed during the process, how many people is going to work hard for my release? But having said that, we carry on with our agitation. We are still in the awareness stage, a mobilization stage. But what we thought is that even this government is not prepared to negotiate with anybody. But we hope by the time we have a next government in 2023, we are going to be able to negotiate with that government. Because you remember, we only have two options there. Either we negotiate or armed struggle. We are not interested in armed struggle. We don't want war on our land, because those who have experienced war before, they will tell you war is not the best thing. So we carry on with our agitation in terms of awareness and mobilizing people, and of course, mobilizing our people, particularly those of us in diaspora. We have people at home, we speak to them, we tell them the benefit, because I'll tell you the benefit is this, is that look at the history of our own region, Western Nigeria. Our people do well when we don't have the control from the central government. Now, that explains why between 1952 and 1959, that was the best period in the history of our region. We were still under the British. It was a semi-autonomous region at that stage. We did very, very well. And for me, why I thought is the best way for us to go is that, number one, Yoruba language will be the official language of Yoruba nation. It will be our lingua franca. We are going to teach our children physics in Yoruba language. Our children will be taught biology in Yoruba language. And I'm going to come back home, so I start teaching my medical student in Yoruba language. And of course, at the Olympic, the flag of Yoruba nation will be flown. And of course, Yoruba nation will represent during the FIFA World Cup. And that's how we are going to develop our language. We will love our food. Everybody will know about us. For me, that is what is critically important. And I encourage all our people to do the same. For the Igbo people, our Niger Delta people, for them to do the same. Because if you go to Japan, their prime minister will not, if he's invited anywhere, he's going to speak to the rest of the world in Japanese language, and you get an interpreter. And that is my own dream, my aspiration for our people. Thank you.
It's all right, but you still have millions of people that will not agree with this school of thought. Okay, they still believe in a united Nigeria. Don't you think your agitation is against the principle of these people that believe that Nigeria should be united and they seen as one?
Okay. One Nigeria is a myth. And that's what we have been, everybody will be talking, Nigeria as an entity is not negotiable. Nigeria is, of course, negotiable. Ambassador Kingiwe said the same thing a few years ago. Because if you, for argument's sake, if two people get married, marriage is not supposed to be permanent. You can actually divorce. You go to the court to argue your case, the reason for divorce. So Nigerian union is not different from that. And the problem is that why it's negotiable is that if you look at our foundation, look at our history, we have all been at loggerhead. Look at what happened to the Igbo people in Nigeria, our brother from Southwest. How many of them were killed when we were little kids? We know what we heard about Ojukwu. Edumegu Ojukwu was never a bad person. He was fighting for the interests of his people. He was fighting for truth and justice. There's nothing wrong with Ojukwu, because I read Aburi Accord. As a little child, I had a wrong notion about it. Now that I grew up, I'm 100% support of what he stood for at that stage. In other words, our foundation is actually very, very bad. It's a structurally defective foundation. How do you build a strong building on a defective foundation? With a little tremor, the whole thing is going to shake and it's going to fall down. That's why when we disagree with one another, look at what happened during after the fallout from 1993 election. Look at how Nigeria was shaken. And of course, look at the build-up to APC nomination for the presidency. Now, after the outburst from Ahmed Tinubu, look at where everybody panicked, everything's shaking. So the problem is that the foundation is poor. The same foundation that is poor that Papa was fighting for, because the center is too powerful. It's not a homogeneous society. It's not pluralistic. It's not normal for a Yoruba man want to control the Igbo or control the Niger Delta. No. Everybody must be able to govern their own people, use their resources for the benefit of their own people. If arguments say we are running through federalism, let's say it is a confederation, Niger Delta is supposed to be at the same level as Dubai. Look at the opportunity the people of Niger Delta have been deprived of. Bulk of the owner of the oil well are not people from Niger Delta. How can I have the resources? Somebody else come and benefit more than me. These are what we are talking about. Nigeria as a nation is a myth. What has happened is an injustice. People of a region supposed to benefit from the natural resources of their area. Remember, that all caused a lot of degradation. That brought us to the topic of Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was illegally killed by Nigerian government. That was a murder committed by Nigerian government against Ken Saro-Wiwa, the man fighting for Ogoni people. The land was destroyed. The mirror, everything was expropriated without compensation. Ken Saro was fighting for the compensation of his own people because everybody must support their own people, and was killed by General Abacha. The blood of Ken Saro-Wiwa is in the hand of Abacha, and whether we like it or not, posterity will judge him for the crime that he committed against Ogoni people, against Ken Saro-Wiwa. Thank you.
All right, sir. It's okay, sir. It's so good to hear you say that. But it's in these days, and I've always said one or two things in this regard. Now, in each of these regions you just talked about, we have a yearly allocation sent to these people. And even with the allocations and all that, we are still seeing a limited development in these places. So how do you relate it with separation and each region being given power to govern their own resources?
Yeah, listen, what happened is that I agree with you about the issue of allocation to those people. Look at the derivation formula by 1960 compared to now. Because the bulk of the percentage should actually be much more. And if you say the people are not developing their own area with whatever that was given to them, it is the courtesy of the central government, because central government control everything. If you remove the influence of the central government, the people of this Niger Delta, they will have revolted against their leader for the lack of development. What Ken Saro-Wiwa did at that time to revolt against Nigerian government is going to revolt against the regional government. And you have seen the result at that stage. There will have been a lot of difference. The influence of central government, that's what we are talking about. Abuja is too powerful. You cannot concentrate power too much, especially in a pluralistic society, in only single tribe. And that's what has happened. That's why the internal colonization by the Fulani of the rest of Nigeria continued. And look at how many people have been killed in Middle Belt. Now, lately, look at what happened in Owo. We know about Igango carnage. People become emboldened. They think it's their birthright to rule Nigeria. That born to rule mentality must never be allowed to stand. Franca should be able to, in future, in the nearest future, you are still very young, you are well educated, you have anything, everything to equip you to govern Nigeria properly. You should be able to aspire to be the president of Nigeria. It should not be Fulani or Hausa to be able to dictate who become president of Nigeria, which means things are not okay. Because as it is, the system cannot produce the best quality to run our nation. How could you even imagine the whole professor of law will be the deputy president to General Buhari? I'm not trying to bring General Buhari down, but if you go to United States, such thing will never happen. Because if Obama is a Nigerian, he will never have become president of Nigeria. Nigeria cannot produce a quality president until we change the structure which we have right now. The way we govern ourselves has to be changed. There should be devolution of power. That's the most important thing. And of course, my own belief is that even if we cannot fragment Nigeria, let's go back to regional government, because that's where we have done very well. There is going to be healthy competition. The Igbo people from Southwest who believe so much in trade, they'll still be free to trade in Nigeria, to trade in Southwest. Everybody will be able to still live together as one. But important thing is that we have to control that problem which we have right now. Structural defect of Nigeria. Because if we don't control that, what is going to happen is that anarchy is going to reign, the center will not longer be whole, things will fall apart, and Nigeria is going to disintegrate.
Your opinion here is 100% comes to true land for the betterment of the entire nation. And we are still talking about we are still talking on the agitation of the Yoruba nation. Now, how do you think to achieve your aims?
Well, like I said, in terms of agitation, if you want to liberate a nation, it's either through negotiation or arm strong.
Responsibility to the people itself, or is it just about leadership?
Excuse me, please.
I said they are achieving the agitations now. Is there any relation? Is there any responsibility to the people, or is it all about the leaders of the land?
Yes. Okay. Now I see what you're talking about. Yes. Our agitation. The reason for agitation is not because we want to have one of our own to lead Yoruba, to lead the whole of Nigeria. That is not the reason, or not. It's not even the reason why we are involved in agitation. I keep telling people my own role. I'm an activist. I'm not a politician.
Is there any role that the people has to play? Does the people has a role to play in achieving this the agitation?
Absolutely. There's a lot of role all of us have to play. We have to, our people have to come. Our people have to come on. Excuse me.
Do you ask that the roles of the people in achieving it?
Yeah, definitely there's a role of the people. The agitators alone who are sitting in diaspora and few people in Nigeria will not be able to accomplish that. We need to carry our people along. We need to sit down with them. We need to sit down with them. We need to talk to them, maybe through telephone or when we come home. We need to explain to them the benefits of having our own Oduduwa nation. And every other nation too should do the same. But as far as we're concerned, we need to tell our people the best time we have done very well, the El Dorado period in the history of Yoruba period, is between 1952 and 1958. That's when you have the first skyscraper in Nigeria, in Ibadan, the first radio station, the first dual carriageway. It was an El Dorado period. That's what I think we need to say to our people, that there's a benefit accruing from having our own nation. And again, like I alluded to before, we will be able to formulate a policy that's going to help our own people. I mean, look at what happened a few years back. They said history should not be taught in school anymore. Isn't that ridiculous? People should not forget their history, and that's the policy of federal government. If we have a regional government, no, I'm sure such thing will never happen at all in our region, because we like history. We want to know our background, where we're coming from, and what our leaders have accomplished. Now, our people have to get involved. Without their support, we cannot get anywhere. I mean, you can't say you want to liberate somebody who does not think he needs to have to be liberated. I mean, look at what Tuban said in America. He said, "I was free more slaves only if they know they are slaves." Our people need to feel the need for them to be liberated, to be in a new nation. If they don't see the need, there's little we can do. But we are just continue to that message of hope, awareness, and mobilize them. When everybody's on board, we're able to do it together collectively. Thank you.
It's all right. Now, I'll still bring us back to the annulment of June 12, okay? Now, 2023 elections is around the corner, and with all things that we are seeing so far, it's possible that even a Southwest, which is a Westerner, a Yoruba person, might be the one that will come into position in 2023. Isn't that enough to appease whatever pains or whatever pains the Yoruba people has gone through with the annulment of 1993?
Thank you, Franca. You remember what I said? What I said is that the agitation, our right to self-determination, is not based on the fact that we want one of our people to be the president of Nigeria. Be the president of Nigeria at most, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be there for about 8 years. Now, I don't foresee after that 8 years that any of the Yoruba people, if we are very fair people, will be president again in the next 30 years. It's almost impossible, because we have to give our brother from the south-south, from southeast and the northeast opponent to govern Nigeria. But the most important thing at the end of the day is that, see, for me, is that if you look at the impact of Bola Ahmed Tinubu Asiwaju to be a president of Nigeria, the impact on our region will be very, very insignificant. Let me bring you back to a point. Look at the northern part of Nigeria. They produce most of the president. They've ruled Nigeria for most of the time. They remain poor. Nothing has changed. Their life of a northerner is not better than the life of an average Igbo man or average Yoruba man. Their region is even more developed than our region. So you could see, being the president is immaterial, although it's important psychologically. The psychological effect is that you are not going to feel as if you are being dominated. But just let's look at the other side of the coin. If we have our own region, for argument's sake, like I alluded to before, we're able to formulate a policy to help our own people. We're able to have our own regional police. In other words, the security of our people is left in the hand of our people. And not only that, we are going to, based on our policy, I don't believe we are going to create a commodity-based economy. Nigeria economy is commodity-based, and that's why it's very, very shaky. That's why the life of ordinary people is very, very difficult. I remember what Stalin said, that the way you can make people to be very obedient is very simple. He said, human being, we are like a chicken. When you remove all the feathers and you start giving them corn or maize, you could see them picking it up. And that's the level Nigeria has found itself right now. Nigerian people, they have been demoralized. They have been impoverished to the level that whatever people give them goes. Now, to go back to the issue we are talking about now, if you look at our region, what I believe the way forward is that we are not going to create commodity-based economy. We are going to create knowledge-based economy. Remember Singapore, they don't have minerals. They import crude oil, they refine the crude oil, and they sell it at exorbitant price to the rest of the world. That's the thinking way. That's the way I want our people to think. And that's the kind of country which I'll be happy for us to be. We have seen that any country which is commodity-based economy, just a question of time, that country collapse. And of course, most of the time, people are very complacent. The complacency is an obstacle to progress. And that's the reason we have not made a desirable progress in Nigeria. We rely too much on oil. We don't collect enough revenue internally to sort out all the problems we're supposed to sort out. And of course, we are not manufacturing anything. We're importing everything. So we import inflation into the country. These are some of the problems. If we have our own nation, all those I think we are going to take care of. Like I say to people, we are not interested in having any role as far as our nation is concerned. It's about leveraging our land and hand over our nation to ethical leaders with lateral thinking and a vertical ambition.
Explanations or the other. Now, you talked about, on several occasions, I've heard you talk about the referendum. Okay, I've heard you talk about that, the referendum and all that. How do you think this will work in a country like Nigeria?
Well, thank you so much. This is the problem with the 1999 Constitution which we have. And if you look at that Constitution, it has quite a lot of flaw. And if you speak to my good friend Tony Nandi, Tony Nandi has actually spoke about some of the flaws of 1999 Constitution. 1999 Constitution is not an autochthonous constitution. The autochthonous constitution we had was in 1960, where all people from all walks of life, our leader, they went to UK, they negotiated our existence of us living together as a single unit. And many things were agreed. But if you look at that constitution, the base of that constitution is for the Fulani domination. That is in a nutshell, that's what it's all about. That constitution, there is no any way we are going to advocate anybody to go into the election of 2023 without looking at that constitution and for review to take place, because many things are wrong with that constitution. I'm not a legal expert. I'm a gynecologist by profession. My forte is to save the mother, deliver a baby. Not necessarily mean to make a mother look beautiful. I'm not a plastic surgeon. So we need to look at that 1999 constitution, because that's the basis of our failure. And even we bring the best administrator from the world, you cannot govern Nigeria successfully. I don't even think our leaders are even the prop. I don't think it's President Buhari. Of course, President Buhari took certain decisions which I did not agree with. So if you have a structurally defective foundation, you can't get anywhere until you review that constitution. Instead of having election in 2023, our own opinion is that we should just have referendum, so that the way it was before 1960, all our leaders from all the part of Nigeria will come together, so that we now negotiate how we are going to live together. That's the first thing we have to do. We need to adopt a new constitution. In my own view, let's review 1963 constitution, taking into consideration our six geopolitical axis. We need to put that into consideration when we have a referendum, when we have our negotiation. So instead of election, that is the first thing. First thing first. Because if you don't do that, whoever is going to be the next president is still going to face the major challenges which we are facing right now. We are not going to get anywhere. Let's look back at that constitution. Let's have a referendum. Let's decide, do we want to live together? I mean, you can't have a constitution. Look at the UK constitution, the British constitution. You could see there's a referendum clause in the Scottish constitution. That should be there. And our forefather, that's what they actually discussed about secession clause in our constitution. But unfortunately, they did not agree. If they agree, although from the historical perspective, Dr. Nandi Azikiwe is the one who refused. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, that refuser is our brother from Igbo land who actually bear the brunt the way they were massacred. We don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen to any of our brothers, anybody in Nigeria anymore. Nobody should be massacred. We must protect everybody. We must uphold justice. We must embrace equity. And that's how we have to live. Our foundation should be justice and equity. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you so much, Doctor. And for the record, I must say you are a good educationist. I hope I'm not wrong to say that. Yeah, I've heard it on several, I've read many of your works, and you talked about the Yoruba Visual University. Is there any update on that? Yes,
currently right now, we are still at the infant stage of the virtual university for Oduduwa people. We are still at the infant stage. And what we are doing right now is that we are building the foundation for that. And what is the foundation is that we were looking all over the world. In fact, yesterday, I was in Mississauga in Toronto, where I went to see Dr. Akinshete, when I actually explained to him what the host program is all about. Now, what we are trying to do right now is that we want to start with the medical doctor. We want to start with our medical doctor. When I say the foundation, the first thing is that we are collecting the database of all the Yoruba top-class professionals all over the world. Whether you're a computer engineer, you're a gynecologist, a neurosurgeon, we are creating the database. Now, we are going to start with the medical doctor. What we are going to do is that, right now, which I suggested to every one of us is that, I mean, there is none of us who doesn't have a tablet or a computer that is not using anymore. Now, if you look at each of the local government of all of us, I'm sure each of the local government has nothing less than 50 doctors in diaspora, for argument's sake. Now, if you have a 50 doctor in my own local government who's in diaspora, you're going to have a gynecologist there, you're going to have a neurosurgeon, you're going to have everybody there. Just like me and you are talking right now, we put the computer there, the computer system is there. I'm here in Oakville in Ontario. Now, a patient can go there, the sisters are there. When the patient is there, we do teleconsultation. The opportunity they don't have to see a gynecologist because they're in the rural, remote area. They will have opportunity. Any patient who has a neurosurgical problem, you can have a teleconsultation with the neurosurgical doctor, who's going to give advice on how best to manage this patient. And of course, because our generation, they are the one who have taken over in all the teaching hospitals, in all the hospitals in Nigeria. We can leverage on that. For argument's sake, if I have a patient who has a choriocarcinoma, and I've spoken to the patient on the phone, and I've told them what tests will be done and all the investigation, I can speak to some of my friends who are in Lagos University Teaching Hospital to say, this is the patient I have, can you assist so people? Now, not only that, even our general practitioner who are in diaspora, we were able to give render a consultation service free of charge to our people. In other words, we are bringing service to our people free of charge, those of us in diaspora. You remember very well, those who train us for free per power, they never even say that we are going to leave our land. We were trained to help our people. And the only way to do this is to offer those kind of service for free. And not only that, because I'm in my late 50s, some of my friends are in their 60s, and all of us are well-trained specialists all over the world, engineers and the rest. And that's why we suggested that through this program, we are going to bridge another gap between the home and diaspora. We are going to be transferring all the knowledge and skill we've acquired all over the world, from the United States, from Canada, from South Africa, from UK. We impart the knowledge back into our community. With that, all the investment in us will not go down in vain. So that's the whole idea about that, the program. Now, after we finish with as far as the doctor is concerned, again, what we want to do, because I'm a lecturer for so many years, we look at our university, our medical school, in which area they don't have a lecturer, they are very defective. Then we can produce, we're giving lecture to the student from different remote, everywhere we are in the world. With that, we are really helping. And not only that, we intend to create a center, Odudra Academy of Science. The purpose of that Academy of Science is that we ask all our people to come to Nigeria, donate 1 week towards that cost every year. For argument's sake, I come to Nigeria, I come to the academy, they have recruited patient for me, patient with gynecological problem. Now, I'm going to have medical students who are going to be there. I'm going to have doctors who are in training. I'm going to show them what is the preoperative care of the patient. On the day of theater, we are going to be in theater together. We are going to operate. And after the operation, I'll teach them preoperative care. The 2 or 3 days left, I'll go and see my family, spend time with my family. That is what we want to achieve. And the next stage will be that we want to create a STEM academy. What is a STEM academy? Science, technology, engineering, maths. So what we have done as a doctor, we are going to pass the same message to our brother. We make sure they implement the whole thing. After we are finished from that, then we now incorporate the other discipline into it. And then we are going to have our virtual university, which is going to be for those who have the capacity to enter the university and they don't have the financial support to be able to pay. So that's what our program is all about. Thank you.
Doctor, we've spoken extensively for over 40 minutes, and the one way or the other have actually learned 1 or 2 things today. Now, 2023 is just around the corner for another general election. What is your advice for Nigerians here?
Well, basically, if you look at 2023, is around the corner, like you rightly said. Now, although our opinion is that our right to self-determination is our forte. But what happened is that the people who have come out to be the presidential candidate, we want to see how we can work with them. Like I said previously, the only way we can have our own nation is through negotiation or armed struggle. We don't want armed struggle. We don't want war on our land. We don't want our people to suffer. So what we expect right now is that we are not going to have referendum. Or the president aspirant or the candidate, they must be able to promise us what are they going to do about 1999 Constitution, because that's the bane of our problem. So they need to promise us what is going to happen, what they are going to do, because it's very, very important for us. If we are living together as a nation, we must live in peace in a country. We don't want a country where somebody will say, look, based on the religion, you want to kill other people. And if you don't take my religion, then you have to be killed. We want a secular society where Muslim, Christian, and the people, the traditionalists, live side by side in peace. A secular nation. That's what we want. And if they're not going to accede to our demand of referendum, let's have a peaceful election. Let's have a candidate emerge from the country that is going to be of benefit to the nation. Somebody who can turn everything around. So anything we have to do, we have to be peaceful. We don't want violence. We don't want hardship for our people. Our people are going through a lot already. But if you ask me, my belief is that somebody from Southwest should come out. I mean, somebody from the Southern Nigeria should be the president. Yes, I prefer the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, because what I expected is that PDP somebody from the Southeast supposed to emerge from PDP so that we have a fair contest. In absence of that, I don't believe Atiku should be the next president, because what it means is that another person from the North will be another president for 8 years after President Muhammad Buhari. I believe that is not fair. It's either somebody from the South. I cannot support anybody from the North at this stage. But no matter what happens, let's have a peaceful election. Let's have peaceful coexistence. Let's listen to one another. Let's negotiate our future. And that's the only way we can create a better place for the next generation. Thank you.
Mr. Rice, thank you so much, Dr. Sina Okanlomo. Thanks for being with us this morning, and we do hope we'll have an opportunity to have you on board once again to teach us one or two things regarding your profession and then some other discourse. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Franca. Thank you, your viewers.
So, 50 minutes you've talked with the doctor himself, and I do hope most of us have learned one or two things about it. And our prayer is that at the end of the day, a solution to whatever Nigeria is going through now come on board, and at the end of it all, everyone comes out satisfied, being in their respective region. I remain Frank Kanide Mudiati. Will come your way next week with another edition of My Opinion. It's a goodbye from me. Bye.